Welcome back, everyone, to Illuminate Local, and we're going to help you stay ahead of the curve in the ever-changing world of digital marketing. Today, we're talking about something that's, I guess, moving fast. AI isn't just about streamlining your operations anymore. It's becoming the new sales and marketing channel where you need to get found, gobble up that digital real estate that is available, and stay ahead to gain or keep your competitive edge. Today, my guest is Pete Kleinjan, founder and owner of Tiger29. Pete's an experienced SEO and marketing expert who's been helping businesses navigate, in general, digital visibility for years, and obviously is getting into AI, search, where this is converging and reshaping the way businesses get found online. Pete, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Hey, Jesse, glad to be here.
So I'm excited to have you on here today because this topic is something not enough people are talking about yet. I feel like it's definitely something people are really starting to talk more about, which is how AI search is creating basically a whole new digital, area, new digital real estate for businesses to again capture and stake their claim in. I'd like to start, if we can, with kind of that landscape. Most people have been thinking about AI as an operational tool. How can we use it to do things, right? Replace human beings, replace labor, improve processes, saving time to write content, things like that. And we're going to get into some of that a little bit. I got some great questions for you, I hope, that will unlock some secrets or teach some people some things there. But let's start with, you're seeing a shift into something bigger right now. Can you talk about how AI is starting to reshape the way that people search and discover businesses, maybe how that compares to traditional Google search? And just set the stage for everybody there and what we're seeing happening here more recently than anything, right?
Yeah, and I think it's something that's been tickling at the back of my mind since October of 2022 when ChatGPT really hit the scene and started making waves with people. Is that, hey, here's this thing, it's a tool, and I've always had this opinion that a tool is a tool. What you do with it is what makes it useful or not. So everybody for the last 2-3 years has been figuring out how to use this tool inside their business to create more efficiency, improve processes, save money, reduce staff, whatever. And I've been watching closely to see if this tool would become a potential marketing channel for acquiring new customers. And people have been talking about it kind of throughout here, like, hey, this is coming. It's going to be a thing. Watch out. AI search is going to be a thing. But beyond anecdotal evidence, somebody posts a screenshot on social media that says, hey, I just had a customer reach out to me and they said they found me on ChatGPT. And that's great. Like, who wouldn't take that? But it's anecdotal. Can you repeat that process? Can you measure that process? And so that's what I've been watching for. And we've been doing that with our clients in our reporting where we're watching, is traffic coming in from AI? Are you getting leads from AI? Are there signs coming through your site that are indicating that you're getting new customers from AI? And really in the last couple of months, we've seen that heat up a little bit. And it's still nowhere near traditional Google search, but it's starting to build a little bit. And it's something that small business owners should probably start to pay attention to a little bit, that like, hey, more and more regular consumers are starting to use these tools in their everyday lives. And a part of that is they're going to start looking for service providers. The big change that I'm seeing is that, when people use traditional Google search, they might go to Google and they search for DUI lawyer Sioux Falls. And when they do that, they get a list and they kind of narrow down their list of what the options are and who might be a good lawyer. They look at reviews, that kind of stuff. But when somebody's interacting with ChatGPT or Gemini, what they're doing is they're saying like, hey, I just got my second DUI. I live in South Dakota. My first one was in Tennessee. What do I need to know? And then the AI is going to come back with some stuff. And then they're going to ask it some more questions. And then they're going to say, like, who's somebody I should talk to in my area about this? And the AI is going to pre-qualify all that stuff that people used to do on a search result page. Hey, I'm going to click on this website. Oh, that's a good looking site. Like, I trust these people. I'm going to make an appointment. They go to the next one, make an appointment with that guy. And then they're like, hey, I'm going to choose, one of these two based on how I feel after meeting with them. Well, a lot of that pre-qualification is going to happen on the AI platform, where by the time that a customer reaches out to you, they're going to be teed up. They're going to feel like they have all the information they need to make a decision. And really, like, if you're that DUI lawyer, you just try not to screw up in that initial meeting and you probably got yourself a customer. And so it's really shortening the sales funnel, and it's not huge volume yet, but it's shortening that sales funnel. It's much easier to close on those service opportunities for local businesses a lot of times when those customers come to you through AI. And so it's something that's emerging, and I think small business owners need to be aware of it. And just like everything else, whether it was Google ads, Facebook ads, Zillow ads, like if you can be that small business early adopter, you're going to get the cheapest leads at the start. And then when everybody else floods in, it's going to get more and more expensive, even on the organic side of search when it comes to AI.
Yeah, I think you're pointing out some pretty interesting nuances, right? Because let's think about it here. Us. Well, I'm not trying to say this even, Pete. If we think about this, us as digital marketers, right? We have made a career in getting people found in Google. And inversely, I feel like I'm a pretty good Googler, right? If I'm trying to search for something or find something, I'm sure you've had experience, friends, family, whatever, where somebody's trying to look something up and you're like, no, 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 type in this, right? And like, you're going to get your results. Trust me. I know what
Yeah,
I'm doing
totally.
here on the reverse end of this, right? And so I think we can pick up on how people search, quote unquote, in ChatGPT or Gemini or any AI tool. They search differently than they search in Google because, as you're pointing out, if somebody's doing a Google search, you're kind of starting your research process, and you're looking for entrances to businesses. Where am I going to start asking questions, learning more? Whereas when somebody's searching in ChatGPT, like it's aiding in that, right? It's doing some of the research, like you're
Yeah.
saying, the pre-qualification, the search itself that the human is doing, or the kind of their intentions and what they're doing when they're sitting down on the other end of the keyboard. It's different, right, than just going to Google. So the results are going to be different for once they do knock on your door or call you or email you as a business owner and a marketer, right? I think you're hitting it right on the head. For it's a much more qualified lead. It's try not to screw it up when they come to you through that channel, because they're so much more educated and further downstream, whether they've done it themselves or GPT, for example, has done it for them, right? Um,
Yeah. I think too,
so
if I could, Jesse, that we as SEOs or digital marketers, we have this like keyword mentality. And we know that X percentage of people who are looking for a DUI lawyer are going to go to the search engine and search DUI lawyer near me, or
right.
whatever. With AI, my opinion is that there's going to be an infinite number of things that people put into the search box, and an infinite number of outputs that they get back. And so, how
Yeah.
do you measure that? The rank tracking that we've traditionally done, I think, is going to be thrown out the window. And you're going to have to figure out better ways of understanding sort of the funnel that people are moving down when they come to your site. What are they doing? How can you do the lead attribution coming from this AI stuff, is going to be a big thing. And that's really a big mystery right now. No, all the big companies, SEMrush, Ahrefs, like all of them are trying.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not super excited about what I'm seeing yet. And that doesn't mean it's in its final form. They're learning and figuring it out too, just like we are. But it's really an opportunity right now for small businesses or all businesses. Yes, use AI as a tool inside your business, but also think about it's an emerging marketing channel, where you can reach new customers.
Yeah, I think to that regard, a thought that's been bouncing around in my head, Pete, is like talking about attribution. If I compare it to Google Search Console, right, just for a different analytics approach, in there we have the impressions and the clicks, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
really curious if somebody can figure out on the AI side how to measure those impressions, because you're not getting as many clicks, right? People are just maybe reading some of this, not even visiting your website. They're just reading the overviews or the snippets that come out, which is still great for your brand and your products and services if you're the one being featured, but it's completely invisible to you. If you had 100 people a day seeing you in AI search results to, oh, here's some great options and here's what they say, if they never click, they may have consumed all the information you had on your website that you
Right.
wanted to put in front of them, but they never visited your website. And so I think, as you're saying, things are going to change quite a bit. From an analytics standpoint, I feel like that's something we're going to look at more, is not the attribution of the actual click, but how many impressions, how much visibility, how much
Yeah.
advertising, if you will, right? Am I getting out there? I don't know if we'll get that. That's going to be so hard
Almost of
to
a
capture it.
almost like a share of voice thing, like
Yeah.
how does my voice compare in the market to others? I think too, and you mentioned Google Search Console. And we actually told the team and I had a conversation about it on Monday. Is like, hey, let's keep an eye on Google Search Console because I believe in the next 30 to 90 days we are going to see information in Search Console about AI visibility,
Mm.
um, and in the same way that we have the performance tab or the section in Google Search Console where you can see those impressions and clicks. Well, you also have the Google Discover section in there, which is not Google Search, but it shows you what your visibility is on Google Discover and the
Right.
click throughs and that kind of stuff. I think we're going to see AI information in Google Search Console soon.
So that's a little bit of marketing nerd speak there really quick back. Business owners and marketing managers listening, this can probably feel a bit overwhelming. A lot of change happening fast. Generally speaking, whether it be the visibility, we're talking, or how to use the stuff for operationals, things like that. A lot of things happening quickly with AI. Maybe can feel a lot of anxiety if you're if you're listening or watching this here, right? Like there's so many things I got to take advantage of or try to implement here. What is some advice? What do you say to the business owners who are feeling anxious, trying to get ahead? Again, like if this is real estate, that means that's not finite, if you will. Like there's people that are going to get in there and people that will be left behind. Again, could cause some anxiety, some scary thoughts. What would you say to the entrepreneurs and the managers right now, having that feeling and looking at this?
So I'd say like I have the same feeling in my business, and it happens probably once every couple of weeks or once a month where we're working on something with AI and we think we really got something and like we're really onto something. And then we come across a podcast or a social media post or something. And we're like, oh my gosh, these people are 10 miles further down the road than we are with this. Like, what are we doing?
Sure.
Uh, and so that the anxiety is definitely there. I think for us, what we're doing is we're just using it and we're doing the things that we need to do inside the business to make ours more effective as a tool. We're using it as much as we can. And one of the things that we keep top of mind too is we can't just use AI operationally as an easy button. Like people talk about a human in the loop, like, hey, create a blog post for me, but then you want a human to like read that blog post too. And I think especially for, small business owners, marketing managers, it's almost more of like human along for the ride when you start, where you're just like going back and forth in that chat window, starting to understand like when I put this in, this is what I get back out. Oh, if I change this word, this is what I like the output better, which is what a lot of us, that are deeper into AI we're doing back in December of 2022 is we're like, hey, how does this thing work? How can I manipulate or influence this input output to get what I want? Um, and I think a couple of things, Jesse, is like those marketing managers, those business owners, they know how their business works. And so it's really just more so about, all right, how do we use this new tool inside what's already working to make it better? It's not unlike, and I'm old enough to really kind of be on the verge of when email came out with businesses and that kind of stuff. And there was early adopters, there were late adopters, and there was kind of the glut of people in the middle.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they said like, oh, we're gonna completely change how we communicate with customers. Like we got to change the words we're using and all that. It was just a new tool and a more efficient way to communicate both inside and outside your organization. And everybody probably implemented it a little bit differently in those early days. I mean, how long did it take Google to come out with Workspace and like be able to have Gmail for a business and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
We are far from the final form of all this stuff and how it's going to work. But if you can get in there and even just play around with it, ask it what it knows about your business. What's the good, the bad, the ugly about your business, and what does AI know about it? You'll start to like get ideas about how you can use it inside your business for operations. Even like HR stuff. And I don't know anything about HR and I don't want to, but if I have an issue with one of our team members, I can go to AI and be like, hey, this is what happened. Here's what I was going to say. And the AI says like, nope, you should say this and this instead. You're going to better outcome with that person. If somebody's showing up late for work or not putting in their timesheet correctly or whatever, That's a
Yeah.
difficult conversation to have, especially if you're not accustomed to it. You got a small team and everybody's great. AI can help even with that little stuff of like, hey, how do I have this conversation? You could ask it hey, my kid isn't putting their shoes away. What can I do?
Right.
And it'll come up with some ideas for you. You can spend 2 hours sitting on the couch arguing with your wife, looking at blog posts about what to do, or you can just ask AI and it gives you some ideas. And then ask it some more, ask it for clarification. No, I didn't like that. What else you got for me?
Yep.
It's if you start using it, it becomes pretty clear like how it can be helpful in a lot of different ways. And then it's just a matter of like looking for more ways to use it. And you don't have to be like a coder and like worry about make operations and connecting it to Google Sheets and like all these crazy things that people are doing with it. Just use it a little bit and you'll start to see the value of it. And it's free. Like go to ChatGPT, use it for free.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like you're saying, you can really automate. You put that phrase, a human in the loop. And that's something I really try to impart on a lot of people is, yes, there are tools, there are people, there are systems, there are courses, right, where you can just completely automate things and have AI replace a human being, like fully, from a decision making process, quality control, everything else. Um, I think we're a little early for that kind of stuff yet, and kind of that human in the loop, and then using AI, like we're saying, as more of a tool, as a sounding board, as a research function. And if we were to think about a traditional office, it's like having an assistant right next door to you that you can go to kind of for anything. It's an assistant, not your boss, not your mentor, right? But somebody who is, I would say your equal or lesser, not to minimize or whatever, put something in a box there. But if you treat it like that, like, hey, it's really good at basically any question or anything I want to know, but it's an assistant to help me out where I can make the final
Right.
call, the final decision, push the final buttons, things like that. And if you know, kind of position it at that as that, if you will, and not something that's going to do everything for you, I feel like it's more approachable because you're still in
Yep.
control, if you will, right?
Oh
You're
yeah.
still there to make that final call. And then you'll learn a ton of crap. You start getting in there, like you're saying, and just using it. You're really going to see what it can do.
It's
So
funny too. And some of I mean, we run in circles of people who are a little more advanced with AI and stuff, right?
if you go on out to illuminatelocal.com, look for the yellow button at the top, free SEO audit. It gives you a score of your page against whatever keyword you're trying to optimize and rank for. And it's going to give you the highlights of where your site stands in terms of local SEO factors like the GBP, the local directories, content, things like that. And also show you where some holes are, show you what's good. It's fast, it's free, use it over and over, and gives you a pretty good punch list for your clear directions on what your next steps are. Again, just head over to illuminatelocal.com, look for the free SEO audit button, and leverage that.
And so, and we do some things on social media, what we were talking about earlier before the
Yep.
call. And I've had people say to me like, hey, how much AI do you have in this? Or like this post sounds AI generated or whatever. And I'm like, that one that you're talking about actually wasn't like that was one that we did manually, or whatever.
Yep.
And which is another thing is like everybody's in this thing of like, oh, I can spot AI. I know when it's AI or when it's not, so I'm not going to use it. It's like, well, that's not what it's about. It's about getting better. It's just like
Yep.
SEO has been in my mind for as long as I've been doing it, is like it's not about perfection. It's not about like this perfect outcome that you're looking for. It's about like, hey, how can I use this tool to make me better? How can I use
Yep.
this tool to improve the way that I'm talking to my team or to my customers? How can I use it to generate more prospects for my business? Doesn't mean you get all the prospects from AI, just because
Right.
you're on top of it or whatever. But it's about getting better.
Yeah. And you're evolving, right? You're riding the wave. There's no finite end to this. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to catch up on AI and use it how everybody else is. Every day that's changing. So it's just get started, get in there. So shifting gears slightly a little bit, to kind of hone in on the AI here. You've been working with businesses for years. I don't want to say decades because I don't want to really age you too much. We'll just say for a number of years on SEO and digital visibility in general. How are you advising your clients, without maybe giving away your secret sauce and stuff here, but how are you advising your clients today to start thinking differently, particularly about AI driven search, right? And again, being found in that, getting that visibility, maybe getting that click. But how are you starting to talk to your clients about AI search? Not so much the operational side, which I want to circle back to that. But yeah,
Hmm.
what are you saying to people right now to get them going in this?
So, and we're actually right now in the process of creating. We're calling it a AI. What do we call it? AI optimization workbook for small businesses, which is basically just like, hey, here's a series of half a dozen questions. Go to chatgpt.com, put in the first question, check out the response, and then write down like, here's the things that it said that I like. Here's the things that it said that I didn't like, and here's some things that were missing. And then you start to think about just like if you got feedback from a business partner or a friend or whatever, like, hey, um, this is something you should be doing in your business. Well, you look at it and you go like, oh, I like that part of what he said. I didn't like that part of what he said, and I'm not quite sure about that part. Well, then you have like an idea of how you go back and influence people to like think differently or think the way that you want them to think. And so that's kind of a big one is just like start to use these tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, whatever, and just imagine that you're a consumer. Next time you need to call the plumber or next time you need to call the HVAC guy, go in there and pretend like the system, the AI is that HVAC guy and be like, hey, I noticed it's starting to get hot outside. And last night when I went to bed, it was 78 degrees in the house. And then when I woke up in the morning, it was 64. Like, what are some issues? Do I need to call the HVAC company? And it'll tell you like, oh, it's probably your thermostat, to check the schedule, check the settings, that kind of stuff. If it's not that, like you can check this and that. If it's not that, like you probably need to have a service professional come in. And so you start to like get in the same headspace as people who are using it. And then once you're sort of there, you can start to think about how you influence those answers and like, hey, where did it come up with that answer when I asked it about my bookkeeping service? Oh, it's on our about page. I haven't updated that about page in 17 years. Maybe I should go back in there and update that with our current information. We don't have 2 employees, we have 35 employees. That might be an important piece of information for somebody that's looking for a bookkeeper. They want to know they have a team that can help them with a lot of problems. If you got bad information going into the AI systems because of your website or listings or wherever they're getting that data, and you can learn where it's getting that data based on the response, well, then you go out and you change it so that it's more accurate. And then in the
Right.
future, people are going to get better information and be more likely to choose you. And frankly, if you give that good information, not only are you going to attract the right kinds of customers and prospects because they get who you are, but you're also going to repel the bad ones. Like if you got somebody that's looking for like, hey, who's the cheapest bookkeeper in my area? That's a customer that a lot of bookkeepers actually don't want to talk to. And so if
Right.
you're on your website and you got a pricing page or an about us page or something like that, and you just are clear about who you are and who you serve, it's going to weed out a lot of the people who were time wasting prospects for you too.
Yeah, and that's back to again the better qualified leads and prospects coming to you, through AI driven search results, more educated prospect base and invasive leads. I like the way you frame that up too, because we always assume we want to position ourselves to be found, and then just, yeah, you're going to have that attrition, a certain amount of closings, whatever. But, this is able to just kind of make that first interaction that much better by weeding out the ones you don't want and also catering to the ones that you really have the service for, right? If it's HVAC, if it's somebody that did commercial versus residential,
Yeah.
their website and their persona is going to put all that forward, and you're not going to get the wrong people visiting or calling out to you, things like that. Yeah, it really does allow you to kind of better align. So you were talking about working with your clients, recommending that they kind of get to know this, explore this, learn it, use it. Um, and then ultimately, if I understand correctly, just to be clear, are you wanting them to do some research on their own brands and entities to see how they're represented as
Mhm.
well, and then go back and give you some feedback to maybe implement as the SEO and the kind of the marketing team? How's that interaction going? If you can maybe spend a few minutes breaking that down, and what things
Yeah.
you're looking for there.
Well, and I think that's one of those things that we're really in the early stages with this as a marketing tool where there are so many unknowns, whether are the clicks happening? Are they being attributed properly in analytics and that kind of stuff? There's so many unknowns that it's really hard to nail some of that stuff down. I think really like what we're looking for is present yourself in an authentic way online. You could even have an about page, or like who we serve page, which is a lot of small businesses have that type of page. Hey, these are the companies we work with: bookkeepers, income tax preparers, blah 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 blah. We don't work with veterinarians, and we don't work with these people. Well, if you're not, like, really, you got to talk online like you talk in the real world. You go to a chamber of
Right.
commerce mixer and you're having a conversation in the corner, over a beer with somebody, and pretty quickly they get an idea of whether or not you can help them or not.
Right.
And we have these conversations in SEO all the time. You have a talk with somebody and you say, "Hey, I do SEO," and they go, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I met you. I've been looking for someone to do SEO for years. I have an e-commerce company." And I go, "Well, wait a minute. We don't do e-commerce SEO." Well, they're
Right.
pretty quickly, like, they understand, well, am I saying that online? Am I saying that on my website? Well, I have a bookkeeping company and we work with a lot of different people, but wait a minute, we don't work with owner operator businesses. We only work with companies that have employees. Oh, okay. Well, you're not for me then. Well, the AI is sorting out all that stuff for you before that
Right.
person ever calls. And so really it's about just if you want to do those sort of, call them brand audits, you go to ChatGPT and you say, like, "Hey, tell me about Tiger 29 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's my company." See what it says. If there's good information in there, kind of get an understanding of where that information is coming from. If there's bad information in there, try to get an understanding of where that information is coming from, and then go change it, which is similar to what we've done in SEO for a long time, where
Yep.
it's like, "Hey, why isn't this working?" Well, you got a different phone number on your Google business profile than you have on your website. That could be a problem because of this and this and this. Let's change it and see what happens. Oh, look at that. Things got better. Um, so, and the danger with this AI stuff is people think it's an easy button, and really it's just another tool that you can
Yeah.
use to get a better understanding, to create better online influence with people. And the way to do it is just get started. We've built some tools in house here, and they're pretty. We think they're really cool, uh, to try to track these things for people, and to see, like, "Hey, here's what we're seeing when we ask the Chat GPT about your company. Here's what it was 2 weeks ago. Here's what it is today. We think we're making progress on this front. It used to say that you did, XYZ. You let us know that you don't do Z, like all the other competitors in the area. Let's get that. Oh, it came from an old page on our website that we forgot about. Let's get that off of there." And lo and behold, the AI learns and realizes, like, "Oh, they don't do service Z anymore. We're not going to serve them up for people looking for that." Um, it's so new that, and maybe I just don't know enough yet, Jesse, but, like, I'm kind of skeptical of people who, like, stand up at this point and say, like, "I have the answers to AI optimization," because I'm not. Maybe, but we've seen that in SEO before too, where people say, like, "Hey, I've got this incredible tool or this amazing tactic or strategy or whatever, and you'll be number one in 30 days." Um, Maybe,
Yeah.
but I'm skeptical, and so it's really a figure it out stage right now for a lot of people.
Well, I think over time, I think we've both done SEO long enough to see, yeah, maybe there can be some software products, some SaaS, some trickery, some services people provide to, yeah, maybe very quickly get you some SEO rankings compared to how I would do it, maybe kind of fundamentally building, the business entity and stuff, whatever. Um, but I think we've seen those come and go. They, whether it be Google algorithm changes or just market stuff, whatever. Those tricks, those guaranteed to get you blank by X days, whatever, they can work. But then they don't work too,
Right.
eventually. And just doing it the right way, maybe the old marathon versus a sprint type analogy, really does fit. But it seems more future proof, more stable over time, because at the end of the day, Google has always just wanted the better businesses, the more legit businesses to be presented. And as
Yeah.
SEOs, we've really worked with keywords and content to kind of jockey those rankings and help people. Now we translate that over to AI, and I think you're saying the same stuff here, to paraphrase, but doing things the right way to still have a great business is the A1. You just gotta explain yourself, be clear in what you do, like you're saying, what you don't do. And really, I think these things that, at least, in the firms I've been engaged with, we've always tried to pull this out of our clients. Like, who's your avatar? Who do you serve? Right? What are you good at? What are you bad at? And it's always like, look, I just want to rank for these 5 keywords. Let's quit with all the esoteric, philosophical, whatever. I'm not wanting a mission statement from you. I just want to be ranked number 1 for blank near me. And I think with AI, the optimization isn't just going to be keyword based. It really will be, like you're saying, more knowledge based. Like, have a good about us page, have a good history page. Like, what are these things that you're saying? You're sitting down in front of somebody with a cup of coffee. The questions they're going to be asking, this needs to be readily available, because when AI does a search for you or does some research for you as a user, you may not be asking all those things, but it knows those are the things that it's looking for. If it's comparing Jesse versus Pete, look, Pete's been around for a while. Look at his great about us page. Look at all the information about his company. Like, I trust Pete more than Jesse, so I'm going to tell this person about Pete, right? For the AI result. And so, optimization is going to change. But still, back to our point of there's no easy button for this. It's still optimization, right? It's the small levers, the small buttons. I mean, just the definition of optimization doesn't mean easy and quick, right? It's granular. It's nuanced. And on top of that, all this crap is changing on the daily, right? Whether it's you use Grok, OpenAI, right? There's different partners. They have different specialties. They're all advancing at different paces. I agree with you. I don't believe the person that stands up championing that they have the recipe or some software tool. Like, don't touch it. We got your SEO and AI optimization. You don't even have to lift a finger anymore. I feel like it's very short-sighted, if it even is that plausible.
Yeah.
So anyways, not to rant too much, but I do think, the optimization and what we need to be working with clients on for AI visibility going forward, super complex. But at the end of the day, it's still back to kind of like I say with people for reviews, Pete, if you want 5-star reviews, you got to be a 5-star business.
Yeah.
Same thing here. If you want AI to say, like, that's the business I recommend, you need to be recommendable, right? In all these different ways. So
100%. 100%.
So keeping going here to help everybody out. I think we're talking here a lot about, again, the AI visibility, positioning your business. Couple questions for you here. They're more on the operational side and kind of within marketing. So outside of being found and getting leads, right, and that kind of visibility, are there any tips or tricks or maybe use cases that you have experienced with AI on how people listening can help them improve their content, their marketing operations, right? Still in the marketing space, even though you're talking HR a little bit ago. Any tips for anybody out there to start using AI for their business?
So here's maybe a story, Jesse, that literally just happened last week. Is I have an old friend who's really active in the financial advisor space, and she is doing some really cool things with teaching financial advisors how to speak to their clients and how to speak to them in a way that serves those clients better, but also increases their sales. And I've been seeing her stuff on social media, and she's in the same town as me. And I said, hey, I'd love to go to lunch with you and hear more about what you're doing. I think it might relate to my SEO agency and how we talk to customers, and we want to do a good job for them and increase revenue, And she's like, yeah, let's go to lunch. And of course, my life's busy, and literally 10 minutes before our lunch, I was like, oh crap, I'm not well versed enough in what she's doing to have a good lunch meeting and have a good outcome for the both of us out of this meeting. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, tell me about Christina, who's doing this stuff, and what has she been talking about? And they said, oh, there's actually 3 people with that name in your town. Which one are you talking about? I said, oh, this one right here. Then it said, here's her background, here's what she's working on, here's who she works for, all that stuff. And then I said, all right, well, I want to know specifically about, and GPT mentioned the thing, so that prompted me to remember, like, oh yeah, that's the thing she's been talking about on LinkedIn. Then I said, tell me about her work with this. And it spit out 3-4 paragraphs about that. And then what I did, being a 45-year-old guy that grew up before email, I took a Post-it note and I wrote down a couple of quick notes of like, oh, this is what it's
Perfect.
actually called. And then I went down, the lunch meeting was in my office building at a restaurant downstairs. I went downstairs and we had a fantastic meeting, and we're going to meet again and like talk more about this stuff. Like that's a way right there, is
Yeah.
like, I could have spent a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour going and trying to find the old social media posts, looking at her profile page on her employer site, like trying to piece all these things together. Instead, I was able to do it in 10 minutes when I was short on time right before a meeting, and was able to have the outcome that I wanted. I don't think, especially small businesses, Jesse, they don't have to do these crazy automations, and like things like that with AI. There's just little ways, if you start to use it and think like, hey, maybe I'll go ask that question to ChatGPT instead of searching for Christina on Google. I'm going to ask
Yeah.
ChatGPT, and I got a much better, much faster, like much, just a great outcome and experience from it. And that's not to say that it's for everything. There's still really good reasons to use Google, and Google's got the AI overviews and AI mode and stuff like that now. But like, that's a real world example right there of like, AI saved my butt and made me look good in a
Yeah.
real life meeting with somebody that I respect and wanted to look good for. It was great.
Well, I think back to my example I shared earlier, Pete, like having your assistant in the office next door. That's what you did. You say, hey, I'm running late. I got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, Jesse, do some research real quick. I got to talk to her. I don't remember a couple things. Can you just remind me? Like, I don't need you to give me the exact questions. I'm not going to be a drone in the meeting. But
Yeah.
can you just give me a couple quick snippets to refresh me on those topics before I run out the door? And boom, you got that. It would have taken you, like you said, much longer than that. So I think it's a great example. So we did talk about how AI is turning into a search engine right on its own. Do you have any other recommendations, advice, anything else we didn't touch on for people for how businesses can make sure they show up in AI, not just in Google search or traditional Google search, I should say now at this point?
So here comes the sales pitch, but not actually. So what we're seeing, Jesse, is that a lot of the things that you do for search engine optimization actually translate really well for better AI answer engine optimization, whatever you want to call it.
Right on.
Um, and I think the reason is like, search has been about Google search has been about gathering data and understanding that data algorithmically to create a good search engine result page, good results that people can use. Well, AI is about gathering data, and they don't use an algorithm, they use machine learning, passing that data through filters and then spitting it back. Filters isn't the right word either, but spitting it back to people based on what it found. And so, yeah, things like, the NAP information, name, address, phone number, website, is that stuff consistent across the internet? Like, it matters for SEO, I believe, and it matters for AI. Why wouldn't it? If you told 10 people, hey, here's my address, and then you told 10 other people a different address, like, that's going to cause problems for you in the real world when you have your birthday party. Half the
Right.
people are going to show up to the wrong place. Well, AI is going to look at it the same way. Like, oh, if I recommend, Jesse's jewelry store to somebody, where do I send them? Which address is the right address? You know, well, I'm not going to recommend Jesse. I'm going to recommend his competitor because I know for sure where they're located. Um, and same way with the website. Like this idea that content is king. I think that's still going to really remain true in a lot of ways. And you can create content a lot easier now with AI. But even the AI stuff that people create, like, it's not just about volume. It's not just about, but it's actually about quality and telling your story in your voice authentically, who you are, what you do, where you do it, when are you open, how many reviews you got, how do people contact you, like all these things that just people are curious about in real life when they get to know you or your business. And they don't even realize they're curious about it. Like, it just becomes a part of our brain. Same thing with AI. Like, you just tell your story. We had actually, here's another example, Jesse, kind of related to both, maybe, is so we do search engine optimization, and we track this stuff for our own company too, or we try to. And we start asking like, hey, who's a good resource for SEO for small business, blah, 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 in my area, all that kind of stuff. And we're consistently coming out. Well, then I went in and I said like, hey, I'm a small business owner, just started a roofing company. What do I need to know about marketing? All these things. SEO was one of the things on there. So like, hey, SEO sounds interesting and like a great way to get new customers. I have a roofing company who's really good at roofing SEO, and it pulled up information from our social media posts and results that we had gotten for roofing companies and said like, oh, this Tiger 29 might be a good one. And here's why. They increased phone calls 120% year over year for a local roofer. You think if that's a customer, they're going to reach out to me?
Right.
Like, and it's really just about telling our story, and
Yep.
telling it everywhere that we can and hoping that the AI is going to pick up on it. And so we didn't create those posts with the intention that like, hey, this is going to get us better visibility on AI. They were created with the intention of communicating with people on social media, and
Yep.
AI gobbled up that data and is now part of its training data and information that it's given back to people. And so I still go back to, we talk about authority, relevance, and trust. The technical stuff in SEO is, EAT, EEAT, expertise, experience, authority, and trust. But really, like, how do you just demonstrate that you're a good result? And in SEO, I think you'd probably agree with this too, Jesse. For a long time in SEO, like people have this mentality of how do I trick Google? How
Right.
do I manipulate Google into showing me on search? Like that's like saying like how do I trick this girl into marrying me? How do I
Right.
manipulate this person into that's not going to be a long-term thing.
Right.
And I think that that's the same way with AI is you might be able to trick AI for a little while, but just like the algorithm updates come along and smack you on the side of the head when you trick Google or you manipulate
Yep.
Google, it's going to happen with AI where eventually it's going to figure out like, hey, these people are fake. It's inauthentic. It's not a good user experience, whatever, and you're going to lose. And so the best thing to do is be a good business, take care of your customers, and spread the word everywhere that you can on the internet about what you're doing, and the AI is going to reward you for it. And it's pretty generic and vague. It's not a great answer, like hey, we love to be able to say your position went from number 15 to number 3. And aren't we smart and aren't we great? I don't know that we're going to get there with AI where we say like, hey, your visibility used to be here and it used to be there. It's got to be a
Yep.
much more like in-depth thing of like, hey, you used to have 2 employees. We started working with you and today you have 18. Where's that growth coming from? Let's see if we can
Right.
identify the different marketing channels that are being effective for you, and kind of walk beside that business owner as a marketing expert and not just as an SEO technician. And so at the end of the day, I think they're just going to look at a lot of the same stuff and maybe some new stuff too. So if you can do the SEO stuff, you're going to be ahead of the competitors that aren't doing the SEO stuff when it comes to AI.
I think it's really smart. Your example of the social media posts. So I guess we've known for the last few years, even Google before AI, right? Even though it seems like it's been here for forever now already. A couple years ago, right before ChatGPT made the big waves, um, before AI and AI search was a thing here, we know Google was still paying attention to our social profiles, right?
Oh yeah.
As brands, as entities. Um, Now, fast forward to today, like you're saying, they are not only aware that you are active, that your profile exists, but pulling out the verbiage in the text off a specific post that you had posted, right? Um, and using that through the AI as one of the decision points it's making, or points of recommendation, trust, whatever. And I think it's really smart for us as not even maybe calling ourselves SEOs anymore, but just in general marketers, to help clients understand like, hey, if you make a piece of content or you have a little win or you just want to mention a thing to somebody, that goes everywhere, right? That has to hit, if you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, YouTube, your website, a blog, like you leverage that, use the right words, to our SEO roots. I think the wordsmithing and the intent, right? There's some nuance there on what words to choose and why is going to be important, but it'll be applying this just to marketing in general, not just, the
Mm-hmm.
blinders on the website, which is kind of traditionally how people view this stuff. Um, and it's going to be fragmented, and you're not going to know exactly which thing, from where, but that point on that social media post pulling in, I think speaks volumes, because you craft that might not have been an exact blog post that would have been on the website, just a quick little win.
Right.
But if you're evaluating who to choose and who to use, just like the AI results did there for you in your example, that makes total sense. Very logical, right? Very,
Yeah.
as a human being, very decision making process is kind of what I would want. Um, so yeah, I think
And
if
if you
everybody,
if you were that human being, roofer, small business owner, and you just stumbled across that social media post, you might take action off of that. Like it's an important piece of information for what you're looking to do and understand. I think too, and you mentioned brand earlier, and I don't know, like it's kind of touchy feely or whatever, but I think our job is going to change from, like I said, tactician, to more of like a digital brand champion, where
yeah,
like we are going to help you champion your brand online so that the AI understands that you're a good result for people, or when you're not a good result for people.
yeah,
And really, it's almost like the like a lot of companies have like a business development person, and you're like, hey, well, what do you do? Well, I go to networking events and chamber of commerce mixers and lunches. I have a lot of lunches with people and stuff. Like we're that person online,
yeah,
where we're like, hey, make sure that you're going to the networking spots and having the right conversations, and you're going to attract those people. Big businesses have known that for years, that you just put people out in the community and have them champion what you're doing, and you're going to attract more of the right kinds of clients and more of the right kinds of customers.
yeah. Same thing here, if you will, right? Just mirrored into the digital world. I like the way you're
Yeah.
framing that up. So,
Yeah.
are you seeing people? We kind of answered this a little bit, but in that respect of how you're searching, what you're searching, why you're searching, right? Um, are you, from your experience working with clients or just esoterically yourself, are you seeing people change how they search, the way they phrase questions in the AI compared to Google? We talked about it earlier in the nuance of, I'm just looking for blank near me versus maybe explaining my problem in there more. And I know we don't have a ton of data, to show us all these queries, right, from AI and how we got found. But anything you can expand on there for any esoteric feedback or straight logical documented feedback that
Yeah.
you're getting in that respect?
Well, it's kind of it's probably speculative, but the way people search has been changing since the yellow pages, the old books that came out of, like, you used to look up alphabetically, or that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And when we grew up, when we went to school, we had the Dewey Decimal System, where you started broad and narrowed it down, where you would say like, hey, if I want to look for a Corvette, I'm gonna type in Chevrolet Corvette 1987 red. Like that, you went from big to small. Like what are you actually looking for? Well, when Google search, and people that are more accustomed to searching on Google, they just type in what they want. 1987 red Corvette, and they want a good answer out of that. And the search engines got pretty good at that too. I think, and people have been talking about voice search now for 10 years or more, like, oh, voice search. Mobile is another good example. Hey, mobile phones came out, it changed how people interact. It didn't
yeah,
necessarily change the outcomes and that kind of stuff. But I think with AI, especially, I don't know if if you see kids interacting with AI, or you like, my kids talk to Siri. They don't
right.
sit there with their thumbs and type out what they want to know from Siri. They just talk to it. And just like we were talking before about that roofer that goes to Google, or that goes to ChatGPT, or an AI, and they say, hey, I started a small business. What do I need to know about marketing? It's going to be more conversational. It's going to be
Yep.
more like, I'm having a conversation with this platform, and I want to have a good outcome, or understand what to do next when I'm done with this conversation. And so I think that's going to be the change, is that it's not going to be a search, a query. It's going to be an interaction, whether it's happening on voice or on typing it out. It's going to be more of a back and forth. I also think that, and I've tried to do this a little bit, maybe I'm just too old to like do it well. Like, I love to go to Gemini. I would love to go to Gemini and say, hey, Gemini, I like the South Dakota State University Jackrabbits. Hey, Gemini, put every SDSU home basketball game on my Google Calendar for me. And I got it kind of working a little bit. Um, but it wasn't good enough that I knew I was going to have every one on my calendar. So I went back and did it manually myself anyways. But like that kind of stuff, just like having the conversation, and it's going to get better and better. Gemini will be able to do that if it can't already. I haven't tried it for a while. Where it's just going to get better and better, and it's going to become a better part of your life. I think Elon Musk said something about like we're already like cyborgs, human machine hybrids. We got these phones attached to us
Yep.
all day, every day. We're already cyborgs. We just don't have a very good interface. And so
Yeah.
when you can start chatting with something and getting that feedback, that's the better interface. And so there's a lot of things changing, and I think the way people search is definitely going to be one of them.
So just saying that, it's making me think, are there, in your experience yet, or yeah, if you just want to give opinion and project and speculate, um, there's different types of content that we produce as marketers, right? Whether it be a quick social media post, maybe a long form blog post. You've got service and product pages, location pages, about me pages, right? A lot of different types of content. Um, do you feel, or what have you seen for the strategy on that content for being more effective, building out a presence for AI search? Do you think it's just throwing everything that you have up on there, or is it? I had Victor Perez on recently, and he's talking about like informational queries, like how to, and some of these kinds of things to be very powerful when people are looking for answers. Any insights, feedback, or speculation you want to share with everybody for content strategies, types of content, what seems to be more effective to start building? Because you got to start now. So what are we going to be?
Right.
What are we going to be typing in? What are we going to be creating?
Well, and I think it's worth mentioning that even in traditional search engine optimization, I talked about e-commerce earlier. We don't do that kind of SEO. We don't do affiliate SEO. We don't do informational based SEO, and those industries have really gotten hit hard with changes in the search result pages, as well as AI. Like it's been tough in those industries. We do a lot of local SEO with brick and mortar service based businesses. And so I think maybe that's the first thing that I would say is you got to understand the kind of business that you have and how you attract customers. And then that's also has to be a piece of how you create your content. So like if you're an informational based website and you want to get in the AI overviews when somebody says like, how do I build a deck, or whatever, that's very different than a local hardware store that sells lumber. Like the final
Sure.
destination for that customer is different, and your content on your website should be based on that as well. And so for small businesses, local businesses, what we talk about is like, first of all, you have to have a foundation. Does your website actually talk about all your services? If you're an auto repair shop, do you have a transmission repair page, or do you just have one services page that talks about everything that you do? So, hey, let's build out your website so that it actually talks about everything that you're doing. That's like phase one. I think before I would go on to like blog posts and stuff like that, I would encourage small businesses to establish a real social media presence and start posting on social media, which is a challenge. And I have the same challenge. I don't like social media, particularly myself. I don't like to be on a camera. I'm not going to walk down the sidewalk with a selfie stick, talking about SEO. Although you might see that someday on my social media channels now that we're doing more. Um, but like I would go there next is establish a social media toehold and get consistent about posting on social media and hire an agency to do that for you if you can't do it yourself. In those social media posts, you want to talk about your products and services. Don't talk about the company picnic. You can talk about the company picnic, but it's not fun and games when you're on social media as a business. It should be about how are we speaking to customers on this channel, and what is AI learning from these posts,
Yeah.
and just develop a cadence for that kind of content is what I would say to a small business. If you've got that base covered, the next thing I would say is video. Get on YouTube. One of the things, I think this is accurate, and you can correct me if you have heard or know differently. When you load a video on YouTube, it creates a transcript that lives on the back end of YouTube. And guess where that transcript goes? Straight
Yep.
into Google's AI. And
Yep.
so if you're creating that video, just like we're here talking about SEO, Google knows this video is all about SEO and AI optimization. This is going to become part of the training data for Gemini.
Yep.
And so that would be the next thing I would say is like start making videos somehow, some way.
I like it. I mean, just getting yourself out there, talking. Doesn't have to be crazy, highly produced video either, right? You're making fun of yourself, not going to be the guy walking on the sidewalk doing selfies. But anybody listening, right? Like, do that, right? You're saying that kind
Yeah.
of tongue in cheek, right? But like, if you don't
Yeah.
have any better ideas, do that about your business and put it up there. The
Yeah.
yeah, the transcripts are automatically created. They weren't not that long ago. And if you just follow the evolution, like guess what? AI agents, whatever, Googlebot, things like that, they're going to be able to start parsing that stuff out in real time, regardless of a transcript, like in the probably not too
Yeah.
distant future. So just putting your content out there, getting on social media. I love what you're saying there because it's not just for humans. It's not just social anymore, right? It is content that is scraped. It's part of your encyclopedia, as a business of who
Mm-hmm.
you are, what you do. Um, okay. So not to be fear mongering for people here, but maybe somebody's watching or listening here, Pete, and they're, yeah, like, wow, this is a lot. I'll get to that next Tuesday. We'll do this. But we'll do it. And then next Tuesday comes and they push it off, push it off. What happens if business owners wait too long to get started here? What do we think there's any risk of them losing out if they don't claim that digital real estate early now? Do you think they're going to get left behind? What's your 2 cents on somebody's inaction here, right?
So I don't think you're going to get left behind. I mean, and it's crazy because we're digital marketers, and we know that this is such a great way to reach customers and that kind of stuff. I live in a HOA, homeowners association, and there's very specific rules about how things have to happen if you're going to build a deck or whatever. That's a whole nother conversation, right?
Sorry about that.
Um,
Yeah.
but what that means is we have service providers who understand the HOA rules. Um, they know what needs to be done. They build decks or they do siding and roofing or whatever. Um, who you call when you need something done and they do it right. And then you don't have any HOA problems.
Yeah.
These guys do not have websites. They do not have email addresses. They'll text you if you text them, that kind of thing. They like
Sure.
phone calls and they've got great businesses. Some of them I know have 2 and 3 homes. They got a lake house and a mountain house, um, phenomenal businesses. And digital marketers like us would say like, hey bud, you're missing out. You got to get
Right.
on this digital marketing train or you're going to be done for. And that guy goes like, I got 3 houses. You got 1.
Right.
I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and you keep
Right.
doing what you're doing. And so that's like a part of this too is if you've got a great business, number one, keep doing what you're doing. Don't lose sight of what's working to try to chase something that might work later. And so that's a piece of it is keep doing what you're doing. If you are concerned about falling behind, start to surround yourself or start to have conversations with people who are living in this world and living in this space. And you can't help but start to have like light bulb moments of like, hey, what he just said, I can do in my business.
Yeah.
What he's talking about, my team could do that. I got smart people on my team. They could figure that out for me. And so it's really just about exposing yourself. Number one, get on the platform and just start having conversations with it. Then number two, start exposing yourselves to conversations that people are having, like we're having right here. Hopefully people are watching this on YouTube. Expose yourself to these conversations. You start to have, expand your mind and have different ideas. The other thing is if you're in a city of any size, there are groups of people who are gathering at coffee shops or startup organizations or chamber of commerces or whatever, where these conversations are happening. And you'll
Yeah.
run into real people in the real world who are doing these things, and you can have a coffee with them, have a lunch with them. Say like, hey, if I had a budget of $500, how could you help me in my business? Start small with a professional, maybe see what they can do. And just like everything else, like you might find a dud the first time out and the guy doesn't follow through or whatever, but you might find a diamond in the rough. And like all of a sudden that $500 is a great leap forward for you and your business. that every other HVAC company in town isn't doing because they're still worried about, are their deliveries coming in on time? Do they have the next
Yeah.
furnace to install or whatever? So it's really just about being active. Activity leads to success is something that I believe. You don't always know what that means when you're doing the activity, but someday later it becomes apparent that like, oh, I remember when I first met that guy 15 years ago. When I first met you, Jesse, was 5-6 years ago probably. Like I remember when I met Jesse, I never thought I'd be on his podcast. I didn't even know he had a podcast. Look where it brought us to today. So you just
Right.
get active, do something, have conversations with people, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, and you're going to find yourself in a pretty good spot, I think, in a year or 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah. It still goes back to just building a good business, right? Doing it the right way,
Yeah.
not taking shortcuts or quick tricks, right? Just really doing it the right way. You're gonna be well served. That's what Google wants for businesses to show. That's what AI wants when it's giving you the answers, right? Um, okay, so I was asking you a question that, again, a little fear mongering, a little like, what if you don't take action? What's going to happen? But on the flip side, if somebody's listening or watching here and they're like, hell yeah, like this is the thing I needed to really push me over the edge. Um, I know we don't have a crystal ball, and this is kind of a mushy topic anyways to try to project on, but what do you think if somebody dives in today? They start doing some of this, just starting small, practicing what you're preaching here, Pete. There's a lot of alliteration right there. That was actually pretty good. What kind of growth or competitive advantage do you think a business is going to get if they start right now today in positioning themselves as that authority and hitting in these different media outlets, things like that? What do you say to those people to encourage them or let them know that maybe they're making the right choice versus me if I'm not taking action here today? What's going to happen?
So I would say the sky's the limit. If you're somebody that like your brain works in the right way and you've got the work ethic and the attitude to get after this stuff and start using it and build automations and that stuff, the sky is the limit. And it's a little bit like if we had a time machine and could go back to, I think it's North Carolina, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and
Yep.
watch the Wright brothers take their first flight, we'd be like, that was kind of lame, you know? And here we
Great
are,
point. Yes.
110 years later, which is a blink of an eye when it comes to
Yeah.
AI and how fast the technology is moving now. Um, we've been to the moon. You and I could
Right.
buy a plane ticket and fly anywhere in the world within a day.
Right.
Based on that starting point of the Wright brothers, who weren't, if I remember right, Jesse, they weren't even engineers. They were like farmers messing around with machines and created flight.
Yeah.
They were not AI experts. They didn't go
Right.
to they weren't Google employees or ChatGPT employees or whatever. That they were just people who were interested in this new technology and they wanted to see what they could do with it. Like if you're that person and you're like, hey, I am on fire for this stuff. This is super interesting. It's the future. Like it clicks in my mind. Like it makes sense to me. Who knows where you can take that? And I know people in my life who um, are that way, where one of them, a good friend of mine, has an AI organization that he trains people with AI Edge. It's called. Um, 3 years ago, he had a fireworks stand. That was his job. And now
Yeah.
today he's got hundreds of people enrolled in his online courses. Hundreds of people come to his conference every year. He is an AI. He's probably one of the best AI experts in the Midwest here, if not. I don't know. Like those guys are doing good stuff. And
Nice.
3 years ago, he was selling fireworks on the 4th of July. I think he still
Not
sells
even on the
fireworks,
radar.
but yeah, I mean, just get in there, be the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk, and see what
Yeah.
you can figure out. And you're gonna crash, like you're probably gonna crash a time or two, but at the end of the day, you might go to the moon. So let's get after it.
That is such a cool metaphor, Pete, because as you're saying this, I'm envisioning, context for this conversation, people watching that flight. And you got two different guys or gals, right? One that's like, holy cow, that thing just flew, whatever, however many feet it went, right? And you got the pessimist going like, okay, cool trick, but like I'll still
Yeah.
use my tractor or my horses or whatever. Like this is a very novel thing. I don't see what's going to happen with this. And then like you're saying, boom, we're going to the moon off of that first flight. You know what I mean? Eventually. So Yeah,
You
whether
know
this
the other
is,
cool thing about it,
if
Jesse, and sorry to take the metaphor so
no, it's
far,
a,
but we talked about like, hey, if you're interested in this stuff, like surround yourself with people who are talking about it, see what they're
yeah,
doing with it, like that kind of same deal with the Wright brothers. Like they flew their
yeah,
plane, and then all the other people who were struggling with flight loved it, wanted to figure it out,
yeah,
but couldn't. All they had to do was look at what the Wright brothers did, and they took a massive jump forward. And so if you're out there
yes,
tinkering with your AI airplane, and you
great point.
think you're doing some good things, and you flew 50 feet or whatever it was, um, and then you see somebody else and what they're doing and how they're doing it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'll put a jet engine on my airplane. That'll work really cool. And now
Right.
you're way further ahead than what you were, but you would have never understood that a jet engine can make your plane fly higher, faster, further, whatever, if you
Yep.
didn't have that Wright brothers little Tinker Toy airplane in the first place.
And then the community of people focused on taking those next steps, right? Like, yeah, I think some great wisdom there for everybody. Pete, I think this episode and discussion here has been incredibly helpful. I know I've learned some things. I think anybody listening and watching has definitely picked up on some nuggets. Uh, do you have anything else that you want to share or impart on everybody before we wrap it up?
No, not really. I think just like get in and start using the tools, start thinking about how people are using these tools, get involved with different communities and have conversations with people. I am more active on social media these days than I used to be. So if you want more of this type of content, like come find me on social media, Pete Kleinjan. You'll see some things maybe you like and some things that make you scratch your head or whatever. But we're talking about it and we're doing some things and maybe we can help you take that big jump forward in your business too.
And your agency, Tiger 29, of
Yeah.
course, we mentioned that earlier. I'll link to your LinkedIn, your website, all this stuff in the show notes for everybody if you want to track Pete down. Yeah, Pete, thanks for coming on. Pleasure talking with you today, and hopefully you'll come on again in the future.
Cool. Thanks, Jesse.